He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 38 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hi guys.
And EJ.
Hey everybody.
Today, we'll be talking about our first 911 Begins episode. And we are starting off with one of my personal favorites of any show ever. Eddie Begins, Season 3, Episode 15.
Yes. I love Eddie. Eddie Begins was so good. I've watched it so many times.
I know.
I know. It's like words cannot describe how I feel about Eddie Begins. Best Begins ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, we need to do like a ranking of the Begins and like the last Begins episode we do to like say how they rank, because I think we'll actually rank them pretty similarly. But I think it'll be too. I think it'd be interesting to do like as like almost like a finale of the Begins when we get there.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But for now, spoiler alert, Eddie's favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much a given. Like, I feel like most people kind of suspect that with how much we kind of talk about it, maybe. I don't know.
If y'all didn't see it coming, y'all don't know us.
I mean...
honestly, like we love loving on Eddie, and so Eddie Begins, best freaking episode. Honestly, the only episode for me to rival Eddie Begins was Jinx with along with Eddie, and so
of course.
Oh my goodness. But yes, we could go on about how much we love it, and trust me, this entire episode we'll be talking about how much we love it. But let's get into talking. I forgot that it opened up with a flashback. I thought it started with him down the well, but no, I forgot it was with a flashback.
Yeah.
So we open up and it's Shannon giving birth to Christopher, and Eddie's in the room. This is 2011.
Yep. So Chris is gonna be 10 this year.
Oh my goodness, he is! I'm so excited. Like, I kind of want to see a birthday party.
Oh yes, can we have like a huge and this is my mind. I was like, can we have a huge birthday bash and then Fox there? Like,
I was gonna say
Prod's unofficial stepdad.
Yes. I want it. Oh my goodness. And okay, so when you have seen an episode a million times, you focus on the little details. And so I'm just watching Eddie's beautiful face throughout the entire thing, barely paying attention to anything else that's going on. And I'm just gonna say his face in the delivery room was just so honestly terrified. He's like, I'm about to be a dad. I don't know what to do with this. But I don't know. He was just so cute there. And I don't know.
Oh yeah, like I was like, okay, I love Eddie now, but this version of Eddie, I love this man. Like just this, I don't know, just this version of him. Especially in like this beginning moment, I'm like, oh, I love you.
Honestly, I really feel like the helicopter incident and like everything with Shannon really marked a before and after Eddie. And I feel like we're really seeing the before Eddie here. Like he loves his wife, he loves his kid. I've always gotten the feeling they were pretty young when they had Chris, so I don't know, like early 20s.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you do the math, and usually ages of characters go off of the ages of their actors, and Ryan is like early 30s. If you do the math, that adds up just about. But like, and so just kind of struck me as someone who's grown but still growing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
He's just a baby there.
Yeah. I like them in the scene, like how like they kind of ask him if he wants to cut the cord, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm okay." And then like Shannon's just like, "You're a combat medic, but this makes you squeamish."
But
like, I was like thinking about it today, and I was like, I don't know if like he was actually squeamish or if it was just like the nerves of like this all happening.
Right.
I've always thought that he was afraid of hurting the baby, like he was afraid of doing it wrong, he was afraid of messing up. I've never thought he was squeamish because he's not generally squeamish.
That's the thing, because like there's like so many instances where in the show like he's the one to take almost most of the time lead in the medical things, so I don't really think it was that. I think it was just he didn't want to hurt like Chris.
And it's
I feel
always
like a lot of
different when
dads
it's your
are like
own
that.
kid, when it's your own family.
Exactly.
And so he's probably watching, he's like, if I touch him, I'm gonna break him.
Yeah.
Right.
I think like all dads are like that at first.
Yeah.
So like, I can't, I'm gonna hurt him.
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of makes me feel like he didn't have a lot of experience with babies in his younger years. So I'm wondering like where he ranks in his siblings, like if he's older or younger.
Youngest.
So if he's the youngest, it makes sense that he wouldn't have babies around that frequently.
I'm trying to remember how they said it. The way they said it in Eddie Begins, if I remember exactly how it went, it sounded like he was actually oldest. But I've always gotten the feeling that he was either middle or youngest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, because like in one scene later in the episode, they were talking about like his sisters, which I think it's honestly like funny that he has those sisters. I don't know why. Like I think it's truthful, but I also find it funny.
Adriana and Sophia, I believe their names are. Yeah. But, sorry, that was just me going, oh, but it's back.
No, it's okay.
No.
But yeah.
And this is also where we get Shannon gives Eddie the St. Christopher metal necklace that he wears.
That's such a beautiful moment, honestly.
Yeah.
And then they obviously name their son Chris, so it's like more meaningful.
Yeah,
I know that they said what is it? 4-9, the 9th episode of 4th season, that they didn't know what they were going to name Christopher, but then he was born and they just kind of figured it out.
Yep.
And so I thought that was an interesting tidbit to link back to this, because we only learned the name when grandparents are visiting, but that comes later. And then we get a glimpse of Eddie down the well. And I'm going to say this, the first couple scenes are a little bit of like a whirlwind. You have no idea what's happening when, and why it's all happening, but you're like, okay, something's not right. And so we see him trapped. We see him trying to radio in. His line, like his desperation and going like, this is Eddie, I'm alive, I'm still alive down here. And then just kind of screaming it by the end. Because he knows he's not getting anybody over the radio.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That was so hard.
Yeah, it's always so hard.
And so I came back. If anybody's ever seen the movie, oh man, of course I can't think of it now. Joaquin Phoenix plays a firefighter, and right at the beginning, we see him trapped in a building that's on fire, like a huge warehouse. And like through the movie, he's like, you hear him on the radio and stuff, and it ends up that he's not going to make it out of the fire. And so like that was my first inclination when we see Eddie down in the well. I'm like, okay, this can't be how this is going. But I had that flashback of watching that movie.
Yeah, this episode gave me so many flashbacks of other things, which I'll mention later. But yeah, definitely so many things of other things.
So we go from that glimpse of Eddie trapped in the well to present day, earlier than the well scene, earlier in the shift. I love the scene. Because they're having a radio check. They're having a drill. And everyone's just supposed to say copy into the radio when Bobby calls her name. And Buck.
Then there's Buck.
He's like, we have visitors and not on the radio.
But Bobby's like, Buck, the whole point of the test is to say it into the radio.
It's like, we have visitors, Cap. Did I pass?
Did I pass? Like, it's the did I pass for me.
Close enough.
Close
and
enough.
I love because Eddie was right there. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but his face.
He's just like typical Buck.
Oh,
he just looks like he's laughing during the entire part. I love to see it. But we see Chris and Carla. I love them. We see Chris and Carla walking into the 118, and turns out that Chris found Eddie's silver star while rooting around in his closet, and wants to take it for show and tell on Friday. With Eddie to tell the story. I love how they did this scene, because the moment he opens the box with the star, you hear what he's thinking, which is like gunfire.
Right.
Like he's having a slight audio flashback in the next scene. And then you kind of have it shaken out by the Buck coming up and being like, "Whoa, is that what I think it is?"
He's like, do you ever wear it? And he's like, I never found an outfit to go with it. And then I love what he says after, because so typical. Buck's like, oh, if I had a medal, I would never take it off. And then he's just like, we know.
We know.
He's the way of saying that. He's like, oh, we know.
Like, Buck is just like mood, like not really something I do, but like also like Buck. Like, this is just like nobody really suspects anything different per usual.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think for this scene was really, to me, powerful, because like many soldiers who've come back from something, just, you know, and especially those who've gotten medals for something they've done, that's all they tie to those like medals that they're given. Like, to them, that's not a big deal. It's like with the memories they have. And I feel like you see the true like pain almost in Eddie just looking at it, because like he's reminded of like what he went through to get that medal.
Yeah, and you know, we will talk about this later, but I'm just going to say right now, like, I think he still holds an amount of guilt for like knocking everyone out alive, even though there's one person who died on impact. And I think you make a very good point in saying that like it's linked to their memories, and so it's just a reminder, like it's just a piece of metal to remind them of one of the worst times in their lives. And now that's not to say they don't hold value in it, because I think being recognized for your work is extremely important. That's why we should give these medals. But I think especially Eddie is not someone who likes being in the limelight, which is probably another
the center of attention.
Exactly. That's one big difference between him and Buck, honestly. It's like Eddie's a good wingman. But I think that's another reason, like, yeah, he never found an outfit to go with it. He's not a big jewelry person, but also, like, wearing a medal, just having the medal gets him attention. And I think even if he'd gotten, every single person out by some miracle alive, he still wouldn't want to wear it, because it's just, like, it's calling attention to him.
Right, yeah.
I swear to God, he is an introvert.
Oh,
an extroverted introvert, I call it.
Totally
That's me.
Relatable.
I recognize a fellow extroverted introvert. I know it.
Yes, 100%.
But moving on. Chris tells Eddie that he wants him to tell a story. And honestly, I think Buck verbalized what everyone probably should have been thinking at that point, which is that a story you could tell fourth graders? Because, you know, fourth graders, like 9 or 10-year-olds. And honestly, considering the fact that in the third, I think they got their timing off. Because in the third season, Chris would have been 8. 8, you're typically like in the second grade, maybe third grade. You're not at fourth grade yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've not been in public school before.
I mean, I'm trying to think how old I was. I think I was 9 in the 5th grade. I'm pretty sure I was.
Okay.
It also depends, like, when you start school, because obviously some kids start school when they're, like, 5 or 4, almost 5. Some kids start when they're 6. It really depends on that,
I had to start a year later because of my age, so I was actually 10 in 4th grade, but most of my classmates were 9.
Oh, yeah, same, me too. It's just, like, everyone that has, like, a September to, like, December birthday, like, usually starts later, I feel like.
Yeah. Well,
I had a winter birthday,
is...
Yeah.
I think it's August 31st is the cutoff. That's why it was always so frustrating for me.
Oh, yeah, same.
Because I was 10 in the 4th grade. I know that, and that's why I was like... So I think maybe just slightly off age-wise, but not as much as I was thinking. He could have a birthday, like, very close to the start of each show or the end of each show or something like that. So, I don't know. But that's just something I was like, I'm confused. But
so this was... What season? So this is season 315. So this would have been premiered in what, March of
2019?
2020?
Yeah.
I'm doing math in my head. Wouldn't that have been like early 2020?
Oh yeah,
because we didn't have the 4th season until late 2020 into 2021.
Oh yeah, this was definitely. I mean, I could look it up.
We could totally look it up.
I was just thinking, like, maybe for, you know,
I want to know
the dates or something there.
Maybe.
Yeah, and it depends too, because Chris might be in a class with other kids that are in 3rd and 4th grade, just depending on, because it seemed like his classes, like he had different teachers for each class. Like Anna was English, and she had others. He had a science teacher and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
See, I'm only going off of the fact that in season 2, Chris was 7. And we
Oh,
know
yeah.
because that's what Eddie said.
Right.
And so that's the only thing I'm going off of, but that's assuming
Right.
that each season is a year.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking between season 2 and 3 was at least 6 months, just because of Buck's recovery and everything.
Oh,
At the
yeah.
very least, yeah.
I feel like this is just another instance of one of those things that, like, the writers think that we won't notice, but us, we will.
Totally.
We snip
Also-
everything out.
Oh yeah, we were like, oh, this doesn't add up. And they're like, well, most people will notice. And yes, this episode actually aired April 20th, 2020. So yeah, it was 2020. It's so hard to know.
Oh yeah. See, that was before I entered the fandom, but only by a few months. So I was like, wait.
Okay.
But anyhow, so Buck going, is that a story you can tell fourth graders? And he's like, not really. And I was like,
Right.
okay, well, good luck to you.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't envy anyone trying to like figure out a war story.
But on the other hand, I think, like, you know, at least Buck said something. So, like, we always joke and tease about Buck being like a child sometimes, but in that moment, he's trying to be an adult. Like, he's realizing, hey, that's probably not a story, because to get that medal is not just like, oh, yeah, you did this one little cool thing and, you know, got a medal. He
That's
knew
one
that
of
there
the
was more
highest
behind it.
honors of the armed forces. Like, you know, something happened. And I'm going to bet, I'm guessing that his team doesn't really know what happened just because he's so private. He probably maybe told them a, you know, watered down version, but I'm guessing that like no one outside his immediate family knows.
Well, I mean, Buck even said, he asked, is it a story you can tell fourth graders? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
almost like Buck didn't even know.
I don't think anybody at the 118 knew about, like obviously I knew he was in the military and that kind of stuff, but like I don't think they know like stories, because obviously those are like personal stories and hard stories to tell even people that you're like family with.
Right.
Oh yeah, for certain. And
I think we only knew that Eddie had the Silver Star because that was a statement Bobby made when in 201.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He's a Silver Star
And
recipient.
we knew that Eddie had saved people because Chim was drilling him in the engine. He was like, what'd you do, save a platoon or something? It's like, no, just a convoy. And they're like, just a convoy. But like, you could tell how uncomfortable he was in that moment.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm guessing that that's just not a story anyone else is going to know anytime soon, because he doesn't tell anybody. And honestly, some of it he might not be able to tell some people.
Yeah, that's true too. I was thinking too, a lot of times guys don't want to talk about that because they start drudging up stuff that they've gotten past.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many, and again, you know, Eddie not wanting to be, you know, the center of attention, that I've seen that in a lot of guys who are in the military that do this, like get awards and stuff. They're like, they don't want the recognition of having received it. They just like, they want to go about their day. Just to them, it's not anything.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest though, and I'm just thinking about this, if Buck was in a situation where he got an award like that, maybe like the civilian version or something, I don't think he'd be as much of a like show off as we think, because, you know, getting that sort of degree, I think he'd get that it's so much different than him going like, oh, I never take it off. I think he'd just kind of want to let sleeping dogs lie, to use a great term, a phrase. So yeah, I don't know. I think I think there's so much analysis we can do on it. But
and there are awards within the fire department that Buck could eventually get. So
I'm surprised he hasn't gotten more than I mean, seriously, he's a dumbass, but he does a lot of good work.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if like there's like, you can't get any awards after like your little lawsuit stuff. That's a whole other story we could talk about later.
I know. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an award for being the dumbest.
We love Buck, but
we love Buck, but that lawsuit is dumb.
He's a lovable dumbass. That's what we can say about that.
He's a lovable, brilliant dumbass. And that we could go entirely back into our season 3 rundown, but we're focusing on Eddie Begins. So let's move on.
Yeah, so
and that scene ends with him basically going, telling a war story for 10-year-olds. And because they get called out, and it's a kid been missing. He and his brother were out playing in the field. Only the brother came back when called. Sister? I heard it was two boys.
No, it was
Yeah,
a
I
girl.
thought it was 2 boys too.
I think they said it, but it looked like a girl. Honestly, I've been so confused, but I heard 2 boys.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought
Okay,
so
2
too,
kids.
but who cares?
Yeah,
Who
2
cares?
kids.
2 kids. Let's keep it there. Gender neutral.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. But so they're, and now just what the little boy is missing.
Mm-hmm. And Athena was there. She was the one taking the call for the missing kid.
And at first, like, they were looking at possible abduction or something, but then she noticed an old photograph, which was taken long before that family had moved into the place. And it was black and white, so you know it was a good bit older. And it had a windmill. And there was no windmill on the property. And so they deduced that there is an abandoned well out there somewhere. Those things are hazardous. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, if they're not properly capped, they are very dangerous.
And we see when they eventually find the well cap that it was covered with some stuff, but not covered.
They didn't.
Eddie did.
I was like, props to Eddie. I'm like, and I think that comes from military training, honestly. Like, he was like taking, he wasn't just like wandering around to wander around. He was like, okay, thinking,
Well, everyone was yelling Hayden, because that's the kid's name, Hayden. And he wasn't yelling at all. He was just kind of looking around, and he noticed that the gate was unlatched. And so he follows that in. He finds a toy tank, which I've always found remarkably ironic considering the rest of the episode. But it's a little kid. He has a toy tank. And so he follows, and he finds, I forget if he finds the opening of the well first or if he calls for them afterwards, but he finds a clue. Anyhow.
He sees fresh tracks on the piece of wood, and then he like starts to move things, and then calls them out because then he realizes what he's getting to.
Yeah. And considering that, I think it was like a water tank or like a feed tank or something that Chim and Hen were like banging around. And I'm really glad the kid wasn't in there. You could drown, you suffocate, something like that. Yeah, don't. But so add a note that entire call is just like, you look at the well, you look at the uncovered well, and you're like, how the hell does anyone get down there?
Oh yeah, it couldn't have been more than like a foot wide. It was very small. I think it was smaller than that even.
Oh, for certain. I'm shocked the kid got down. I'm shocked the kid slid 45 feet.
Yeah.
And
okay, I have to say this. I have to make the joke because I think it was made the joke in there, but like, I don't know how or when, but I don't know. The kid should have been named Timmy, and this should have been a job for Lassie. I'm sorry, I have to say it. It's like it's a serious thing, but I was like, oh, kid stuck in a well. That's like so Lassie.
Honestly.
I'm like, but I'm glad they found it, and they happened to have in the truck like one of those things like a plumber would use to like look in the pipe system, and they were able to like, get a camera down there to see if the kid was down there, and sure enough.
Oh yeah, and he was crammed in there. It's like, how did you get down 45 feet?
Right.
I have no idea.
And
sorry,
then
something went down the wrong way.
And I can imagine they were like totally like, okay, great, now what are we gonna do? And so they're like scrounging up like plans for like water tables and stuff to see like where this well would have been like gone down to.
Yeah.
Because we see like day turning into night as they're figuring out things. So like it probably had to call in different people and call in different like I don't know, map cartographers and just to see what's going on.
And they have maps, but the system predates the maps, so they don't have accurate representation of what's down there. And they know they can't like try and break into the well cap because they're going to bring the entire thing down on the kid. And that is not something you want. And so they also have the problem of weather coming in, and see, that's really bad because you get rain going down that, and you're going to have a kid drowning. And so they know that now they're also on a time clock, but the rain hinders the rescue because they are trying to drill into the ground, and that does not work when you have soft earth.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it only worked because they had got a start on it before it started raining. But between bringing in drilling rigs and all the other equipment needed, it just kept taking more and more time. I know. Oh man, whenever I think of the rescue, it's like so much happened then.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's so many moving pieces because they had to call in drill rig to come in, and they had to drill a hole like parallel to the the well.
Mm-hmm.
And then like somebody would have to go down there, and I think they ended up talking to the kid at some point, and the
They
mom
did.
was so like emotional that Eddie's the one that took over on the radio to talk to the kid.
Once they managed to get because they did have like the camera, I guess they had a radio of some sort on the camera or something, and they talked to the kid, and the mom was talking, but she I'm surprised she was able to talk at all. Like, she was just so flipped out. She was so worried and emotional.
Yeah.
And honestly, gosh, who wouldn't be stuck in that position? So Eddie talked, and honestly, there's specific incidents where you're like, you can tell he's a dad, and you can tell he's a damn good dad, because like he's just kind of enters dad mode. And that's what he does, talking to Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, go boy.
Yeah, we love Dad Eddie.
We love Dad Eddie.
We also love Dad Buck, even if the writers don't want to agree to that.
We will make them. We will make them agree to that. That sounds vaguely 13. Totally fine. But so they wind up having to stop drilling a little short of where they'd wanted to be because the storm was just so bad by that point. And I forget the guy who in the black coat. I forget who he was, but he was some like county representative or something. That's my guess.
I think he was the one that first brought the maps. I think he was somebody from like the water, like the city water department or something.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. But see, he was calling the no, we gotta stop. And so I was like, I don't know if he has some other like authority.
Oh, he might have been part of the drill rig company.
Possibly,
because they were concerned about lightning hitting the drill rig. Because it
and
could
honestly,
be like
that thing went way up. Of course, it was an attraction, and we see that later. But but so it's like spoiler. We see that later. If you haven't watched the episode, you shouldn't be listening to us. Just saying.
I know.
Or do have it completely spoiled with our bias. That's totally fine. Do whatever you want. But anyhow, so Eddie volunteers to go down because he'd spoken to the kid on the radio and that the kid would know his voice. And that's a good point. Because the kid's scared enough. Right, you don't need a whole bunch of different people interacting and confusing him further. And the kid's only like, what, 6, 7 at most?
Yeah, at most. He's younger than Christopher for sure.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I'd say he's like between 5 and 7. He was pretty small.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Yeah, but so, so Eddie goes down. And like, with all that rain, this is not going to go as well as you'd hope.
It's 911. Like, come on, they're gonna do something. I mean, nothing ever goes smoothly, typically, in a rescue, especially like in a larger episode like Begins episodes, something is, they have to put them in harm's way in some sort of way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so he's got a half hour to do the job. And honestly, because that's the tank, the air tank that he has with him. Because, you go 40, 45 feet underground, the air ain't great there.
Right.
But when you consider the fact that he's literally like digging through to get to the other pipe, I'm always like, I think they should have tried to give him a little bit more time. Because you're trying to move fairly damp earth to try and dig across to somewhere else. But anyway. So, he goes down, digging across. He gets the kid, but then the time's up. And this is where everything starts going wrong.
Yeah.
Because the time is up. He literally had the kid's hand in his.
Yeah.
But he was jolted so much that he lost the grip, and he's starting to go back up the tunnel. He came down, which I just gotta say, that yank through several different tunnels, that must have hurt.
Oh, yeah.
But he knows he had the kid, and so he cuts the line.
Of course.
It's such a Buck move.
Yeah, like... Yep. I feel like it's such like almost like an Eddie dad move, just because like he wants to save the kid so bad, and like he wants to like be like protective and stuff, as he should. But
and like I think he might have still gone if he thought he was just close enough or something like that, but he knew he had a hand on the kid, and so he's like, hell no. I'm not leaving him, because I think he knew he probably wouldn't get another chance before things got too dangerous to go down. And so he made the call. And I don't think it was a bad call necessarily, but that set up everything else that happened.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, he digs across, he goes back through the tunnel he dug, gets Hayden. In the meantime, Buck's trying to go down after Eddie because they need someone to go down. They are freaking out because the line was cut.
Buck wants to be the one to go down because Bobby wanted Chimney to go down.
This recalls a scene to me that I think y'all are going to appreciate. This makes me think of, oh gosh, what was the episode? 215? So when the call center goes down because of the break in the system, and they're attending that gas main explosion. Oh,
yeah, yeah. And
Eddie's going. Well, Eddie is going across the roof, and Buck just looks at Bobby and goes, "I feel like if I did that, you'd yell at me."
Okay, I need to rewatch this because I do not remember this.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
I haven't rewatched season 2 in so long.
It's so good. Oh my god!
I know, I need to. I just need to do it.
But yeah, it recalls to me that because I really feel like that also applies here. Like if Buck cut the line, he'd be yelled at for days. And he's probably just going to get a minor scolding in normal circumstances.
Yeah. I think that was the episode right before Ocean's 118.
Yes.
Because it was the maintenance guy, because at the end of that episode, the maintenance guy had to come and fix the ladder that Buck, it collapsed on Buck.
Yes, and Chimney was still out, but he came in Ocean's. Oh my gosh, that's a good, yeah. So that's when it happened, and it just occurs to me because I'm like, every time Eddie does something, I'm always like, yeah, who's Bucky? Get yelled at for that. And I think the only thing saving Eddie from being yelled at more is the fact that he rarely does the reckless stuff that Buck does. Yeah. He hasn't slightly.
He gets a pass, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's eventually gonna not get a pass.
Eventually.
Stuff.
Oh yeah, but anyhow, so Chimney goes down, and Buck had been arguing, trying to go down, and Hen was like, "What? So we can wind up with 2 cut lines?"
Yeah,
that's true.
She knows her boys.
We know.
I think they're startled enough by the fact that it was Eddie, but they would have no surprise for this Buck.
Yeah. Well, I think at first they weren't 100% sure that it was Eddie that actually cut the line. They were concerned that something happened.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Then,
well, they.
I think when they pulled it up and realized it had been cut, that
they were like, "Oh wait, I've lost the weight." And Buck's the one pulling it up, and I'm like, I don't. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
But he's like, I lost the weight, and they're like, well, because they think something's wrong, and then. It is, and then they're like, he cut the line because, anything, he cut it with a knife. You can tell when something's been cut by a knife or something tore or something like that. It's a big difference. And so they're like, okay, so he cut. So they get it by that point, but they were pretty freaked out, and they're still worried because he's down there with no air. And so they send Chim down. By that point, Eddie's got Hayden. Wait, I think I actually jumped ahead a little bit.
Yeah, I think we need to backtrack.
Yeah,
I think we need to backtrack a little bit.
When I get talking about that,
I was like, yeah, I think we need to backtrack a little bit.
I apologize if I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. But yeah, there was a flashback. Yeah, there was a flashback, shortly after, Eddie, went down, he was down there. It was he had just gotten home, and he had enlisted again, and Shannon's giving him crap for it, which understandably so. They're both valid. Her reason's valid, his reason's valid. Eddie, thought oh well, we need to pay for Christopher's therapies, their house, their cars, and Shannon's I get it. She's alone, and it's hard. Basically being a single mother at this time.
Being a single mother is hard enough. Being a single mother to a kid with disabilities
is
harder, for one thing, because you when you're a mother, you already give up a lot of your life. But kids with disabilities, especially Chris having moderate to slightly more severe cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it'd be classified, but I'm like saying moderate. But like, you know, she's got to handle a lot, and you know, I've never really liked Shannon, so it's always hard for me to like give her the benefit of the doubt in this argument, because the big thing is that neither of them are good at listening to each other.
No, I don't.
And she's not listening here. And yes, I would be pissed if I was in her situation, because just talk to me about it first. That's it.
Right? Yeah.
But also, I get Eddie. Like,
Yeah.
and also I feel like he came back to a household where his kid doesn't know him. His wife is frustrated, mad at him, and, you know, things are just like, he went from a war zone to a much more minor one in his home.
Right.
And so, like, that's not an excuse for, like, kind of running away, because he did sort of run away.
Yeah.
But, like, I get it. And
well, and I think you know, she had some valid points, and I think at this point they had just recently had the diagnosis of CP, so it wasn't something he, like, I guess while he was gone he'd found out about the diagnosis, and he wanted to like go back using the excuse of like he didn't want her to have to work while he was deployed or anything like that. So he figured if he just re-enlisted and stayed in the military, then he'd have the benefits from that, and then she could focus on Chris.
Yeah.
So like he had some like reasonable ideas as to what to do, but he didn't communicate with her, and I think that's really where the like communication broke down.
Yeah, and like and like it was like I liked how Eddie said this, and like she was like, you know, giving crap about it, which understandable. But Eddie was like, I was in Afghanistan, not Cancun, which is valid, because like it's not like he's just like a deadbeat dad, like not taking responsibility, not helping, not doing anything. He's actually like doing a lot, and like
I think Eddie is doing what he knows how to do. Which is being a soldier and also providing, but he doesn't really know how to be a dad just yet,
right?
And not under the stressful circumstances that he is being a dad, and he's not abandoning the family. And trust me, you hear so many stories where one parent or the other abandons the family after the kid is diagnosed. That's not what happened here. He just, I think, didn't really know how to deal with it. And the fact that they did need that money that he would bring in, I don't know if he would have still enlisted any other way, but I think the knowledge that he needed to, he just kind of took the chance because he was there. And I looked it up, and typically CP is diagnosed within the first 2 years. So I think we can reason, except in the most severe cases, which is usually soon after birth.
Right.
But so I think we can assume that Chris was diagnosed probably after he had gone back, because he went back a week later.
Right. He'd only had a week's leave.
Yeah, he didn't look that old in this scene either. Like
Christopher, I'm not good at figuring out how old he was, but he looked maybe 8 months.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 6 to maybe 8, like definitely, maybe possibly a year, but I was like, I'm not thinking he was even a year old. He didn't look a year old, just going off of what I know.
I mean, I don't know how, like, developmentally that's impacted or something, but, like, just any baby in general, I would give, like, from 6 to 8 months, maybe. Just because, that's just what he looked like.
The baby they were using did not look any more than a year old.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely wasn't over a year old.
100%.
And, so they were arguing. And, you know, his statement, I was in Afghanistan, not Cancun. It's true. Give him a little credit for the fact that he was doing his job.
Yeah.
But then Chris starts crying, and Eddie goes to hold him. And honestly, the scene, I skipped through this flashback scene because I hate watching them argue. But I particularly don't like this because, like, he's trying to comfort him, but Chris doesn't know him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's been gone so long. And this is how you know he's only been back for so little of a time, because Chris hasn't adjusted to him yet.
Yeah. And, like, I honestly, most of the time when I watch this, unless I haven't seen it in a while, I skip, like, the beginning part when they're fighting, but I will watch, like, this sort of scene, because I don't know, I just kind of like seeing Eddie, like, I don't know, struggle a little bit with being a dad. Like, as, like, bad as it sounds, that I, like, kind of like seeing this scene, like, I do. Like, it's just the reality, and, like, it does come full circle, because obviously we know now that, like, Chris and Eddie have, like, this really great bond and stuff, and then also, like, the stuff with, like, Eddie and Shannon later on. Like their whole story just comes full circle, so that's kind of why.
Yeah. See, I wasn't certain if he could, unenlist, because it was like her
Usually.
yelling at him, and it's like, he just enlisted. I don't think you can unenlist.
Not usually.
Yeah, precisely. Now I saw one thing that said you can
There are ways to adjust like your type of enlistment, but it's not often that you could just say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I can't. My wife said I can't re-enlist," or something like that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can, but I think you have to do it really, really fast. And I think it's a really complicated process. Like, there's one thing that says until a new recruit takes the oath of enlistment, they aren't officially in spite of the legally binding paperwork. But so there are ways, but I think it's really complicated. And so I kind of got the feeling that he couldn't unenlist. So let's just leave it at he probably could have unenlisted, to be quite frank. So, mood argument.
Yeah.
So now we jump back. There's another flashback. And this is right after Chin prepares to go down. And we have a flashback to Eddie in Afghanistan on a video call with Shannon and Chris. And Chris looks to be... Honestly, I've had trouble judging his age on this, but I'd say he's like close to two and a half maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like 2-ish, I would say.
Yeah. But see, he looks closer to 4 when we see him at home. So I've always been so confused exactly how old he is. But he's much older by this point. So we can assume that Eddie's probably been on his tour maybe 18 months. That's always what I've supposed.
Same.
And so the video's breaking up, and Shannon's asking about Eddie's leave. Eddie's about like working on moving out because they have a job to go do. And
wasn't Shannon trying to ask him about his leave because she was going to go to California to visit her mom because her mom had just been diagnosed with cancer?
Yes.
Yeah, like her cancer had like gone into remission and stuff. Like she developed a new cancer or whatever, so like she wanted to go to California to be with her. And then he's like, well, like talk to my parents or something, but they're breaking up, so like they're not hearing each other and stuff. And
yeah. And so he can jump back out and try to continue the conversation. He's trying to fit it in because he has to go. And so wind up having to hang up, and he kisses his St. Christopher medal.
That moment, like that made me so like I was like, oh my god, I love that. Like he always says it's not like for good luck, it just reminds him of him, but like
but there's no question that he loves his son. So
no, damn certain. And so they're on a mission. They're flying across the Valley of Death, which of course they are in this particular scene.
Of course, it's 911.
By this point they've picked up several wounded and are flying back to camp. And I really like the female soldier.
Oh yeah,
who was there. Yeah. She's like just her sass during the scene, and then like her helping Eddie later. It's great. I loved her. But they get fired at, and their helicopter goes down. And then you see Eddie wake up. He's like the first to wake up in the copter. And well, our boy goes into saving mode. He gets everybody out of the copter. Even the guy who died on impact, who was the guy that he was working on. Which sucks because he made it out of the one place and died in another. Hate that. But I don't know. Eddie gets shot 3 times.
Yeah.
And he keeps doing it. I don't know.
Which is why he got the medal in the first place, because he did more. He went above and beyond the Call of Duty when it came to that. Like, he was injured himself.
Yeah, like, especially since, like, I think they were, like, he's gone. like the guy that obviously died. And Eddie's like, no, he's coming home with us too.
Right.
Exactly. And I know somebody who's I know some people who are military and they've been in stuff where like you don't even have bodies to bring home, and they very nearly didn't have a body to bring home because right after Eddie pulled the guy out of the wreckage, the helicopter was exploded.
Yeah.
And so like, yay, almost died too, but he got the guy, and it's like the family is going to get a body, and that may seem like a simple thing, but it's not, because you have something.
Right. Well, and that's why the soldiers wear dog tags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes if you're not in a position to take the body yourself, you can grab the dog tags at least. That's something. And so they're hunkered down behind rocks, and like just watching that scene gives me such nerve-wracking anxiety, even though I know what's going to happen.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, joy.
Oh yeah, well that's how I feel about like the season 4 finale, like when Eddie's shot in that whole episode. Like when I was rewatching that, I avoided rewatching it for like days. And I was like, Katie, you have seen this before a few times. You know what happens. Come on. Like,
oh my gosh, the concern. You remember that we had to tell us whether or not he died before we watched.
Yeah.
Because hell no.
Spoiler alert. Eddie was shot and survived.
Again.
Spoiler alert doesn't
him and his shoulder injuries. Let's see. I know he got shot in the wrist and he got shot in the shoulder. I think he got shot in one other place, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. I know, like, it happened so fast, but, like, I even had to be like, wait, where? What happened? He, like, had a broken bone, a dislocated shoulder, he was shot, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, you can guess that everything that isn't the bullet was probably from the wreckage.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was here going, how in the world did he break a bone and dislocate his shoulder doing the rescue? Like, that doesn't seem like it could have happened. I was like, oh, wait, they did crash first.
Oh, yeah,
That's true. And they're just hunkered down behind rock, and then another helicopter comes and saves them. It's just like, oh my gosh, they did so good. And that, like, I can analyze every detail of that. Trust me, I can. You don't want me to get started. I'm already getting started.
We know.
Geez. We know.
It's so true.
I think it's just the fact that they made this seem so real. And so it's like, you feel the terror, you feel the relief. And I don't know, like, as stressful as the scene is, it's definitely one of my favorites in the entire episode.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to put this out there. I know EJ will get this, and I hope other people will get this, but some of these military scenes give me full-on night shift vibes.
Yes!
Okay, like, I knew you were gonna get this. Like, when I say this, like, I can't really pinpoint what exactly, but just the vibe, and just the fact that Eddie's, like, from Texas.
Yep. I'm like, in my head, Eddie knows Drew. That's like,
oh
in my
yeah,
head,
100%.
Like, Drew's a combat doc. As like, he's in the army. As like, Eddie was a combat medic. I'm like, they know each other. That's what my headcanon is. That's where it's staying.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. I've never seen Night Shift, but
you should.
I have so much stuff I want to start watching.
So just why I think that too is Drew is gay. He's in the military. His boyfriend is also an Army Ranger. So I get kind of a little Buck and Eddie, I was like, that's another reason why we can like drop some hints about Buck and Eddie. Sorry. Okay. I'll stop. Because like if I start talking Night Shift, I will not stop.
I know, we won't shut up. I'll be like, wait with this.
Yeah, well, okay.
It's on Netflix.
I'm not the only one who can prattle on for ages without stopping.
We all could do that fairly.
The Night Shift ended way too soon, and it was such a short series, but it was so good.
Yeah,
how many seasons was it?
4 seasons. But I think, and the episodes are like it was a summer show, so there's not as many episodes. Not like 911 where there's like 18 episodes. Like I think a couple of the seasons were like 10 episodes, a couple were like 12. So it's like it's fairly easy to watch. It's not like you're watching like
8, 12, 14, 10. That's how the seasons go.
Yes, exactly.
8 was season 1, 14 was season 2, 12 was season 3, and then 10 was season 4.
God, I have so much I need to start watching.
Oh,
And
me
just in
too.
first responder shows, it's like, y'all recommend Night Shift. I want to watch Station 19. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's so good.
Never. Another one of my favorites.
And not necessarily first responder, but like Grey's Anatomy. I've never seen Grey's Anatomy.
Really?
No,
Wow.
never.
That's
Not even
crazy.
one episode.
If I'd have known that, I'd have kept all my DVDs and sent you the first 9 seasons.
Oh my goodness! Like I don't have enough to do already.
I know, that's like me right now. But that's a story for another day.
I know, right? We're
Totally,
getting like way off topic.
totally.
Sorry, Eddie.
Okay, sorry guys. You knew what you were signing up for when you listened to us, and therefore you've now signed up to listen to me continue prattling on and not allowing Katie and EJ any airtime.
Oh man,
We all have those moments, and I'm okay with that 100%. We're all
I
okay
don't
with
remember where we stopped and Eddie begins. Where did we stop? Where was
The
the last
triage.
thing? Okay,
The
so there was
triage, yeah.
So Eddie wakes up in triage, and so the sergeant like told him what happened, and then the commanding officer came. I'm just gonna say I love her, and I don't know why, but like I was just like, thank you. I actually really like you.
Oh, yeah.
And I love how like he had attempted to like sit up a little bit, and she's like, please do not attempt to stand on ceremony or at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yes.
like everything.
That was so good.
Don't move. And it's like the medic just going, heard you put on quite the show. It's like, well, yep.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. But it was like good to see, because like he had Mills, the woman soldier, across from him. He had one of the other guys right next to him. Like it was good to see some of the people there. And you know, he's told he's getting medal for it, and you're like, of course he's getting a medal for it. And yeah, so it's a very short scene, but I actually really like that scene. Okay.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah, so that's cool. And then I thought there was a present day scene before we switched to home. I guess not. It all kind of blends together a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
So Eddie goes home, and here's the thing that I'm a little confused on. Did he go back? Because everyone gets to go home for a spell, is what she said. So you get leave, but if you didn't finish out your tour, unless you had to be honorably discharged because of medical, which I'm guessing he wouldn't have to, I assume he had to finish out some bit of his tour. And so I'm like, I don't know, because you get the feeling that this was that this was like very soon after the incident. But so it's like, okay, did he get medically discharged? Is it a little later than we thought? And he finished his tour?
Well,
Yeah.
From what I understand, especially in this time era, is that oftentimes when guys get injured, if it's not a severe injury, which even though his were, all he would have to do is go heal up in like Germany for a couple of weeks and then go back. So he might not have gotten back like right away. And so he might have stayed for his tour, or they might have went ahead and said, okay, well, you've got 6 weeks left. We're just going to go ahead and medically discharge you early.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking. It could have been like any of those options. Either way, I don't think it was long afterward. But either way, we know that like when he is home in this scene, everything he's home. Like he's not going back. And so this is when I love Abuela and Papa and hate everybody else.
Yeah, I still don't like the parents.
Oh my gosh.
That
like
mom,
so much.
all of them are a piece of work, and I start hating them more during other scenes. But like
the mom.
the biggest mistake is expecting Eddie to come back knowing how to take Christopher, because he's been away. He doesn't know that Christopher can't drink without a straw. He doesn't. I've gotten the feeling that he's only been back like a couple weeks at most. And so like he's adjusting, trying to be a dad again. And I think it's really undercut here, but he's still adjusting how to be a civilian.
Well, he's coming back. He's being thrust into a world that he hasn't been a part of for so long that it's foreign to him. And it happens to so many guys coming back after being gone for so long. Like they have to relearn how to like be a dad and be a parent and be a civilian. It's not easy. And that's why a lot of guys stay in the army. They stay in the military. They choose because it's a life they know.
Yeah, they're used to it. They know how to do military.
Yeah.
And I think for Eddie, like the helicopter was like such a turning point in a way, like such a change in his life. Like it shifted so much, and then he comes home and things are different at home, but nothing changed with him.
Yeah.
Like he is in a way sort of another part of himself, like at another stage, and he comes back and he barely knew where his last self fit into things, and now he comes back. Ton more nightmares, as the commanding officer said. And now he's just like, everything's normal, but everything's just so completely different.
Right.
And like I think the way Eddie's parents are acting in this moment, especially his mom, is kind of like the first red flag, because she's like so controlling over like how he's giving his son a drink, which I understand, like, yeah, he can't drink out of a straw, but like,
And
you need to chill a little bit. Like, come on, like, give him a second.
The way he said that when he goes and talks to Shannon, apparently I gave my son a beverage incorrectly.
Yeah. And she's like, your mom again?
She's like, I can tell by the tone.
She's like, I know what that's like. And in that moment, and this is the last time we see it, is the time where they're like, yep, like they're in the same boat.
Yeah, like it literally goes like so like fast with them. Like with just everything that happens next. Like she basically kind of mentions that she wants to go to California and basically just like uproot their lives almost.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just got home, people are here to see us, we can't just go, and they kind of like bicker. But honestly, I don't get how they were ever like, I could see when they're really young, like them being like cute and like being a couple, whatever, but I honestly don't see how they were like a couple in a sense, because I don't know, like I don't get how they like matched and clicked and stuff.
They're so different personality wise.
Yeah.
And they don't mesh together. They say opposites attract. I call that bullshit. But even when some opposites do attract, they kind of like, they fit their puzzle pieces together sometimes. But this is a case of them being too opposite and too similar, because they're both stubborn. And you can tell that. And
definitely.
like, I understand Shannon wants to get away from his family.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I don't. I think her mom's still alive by this point.
Yeah. She wanted to be closer to her.
So she's gonna want to be near her mom. See, I never watched this part of the scene. I don't like this scene. I always watch the first part, but not this. But also, he just got back.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with enough without being uprooted again.
Right.
And I think right now, like, he kind of, even though the family is like hard to be around, I think he needs to be around that family, kind of for a sense of normalcy. And so, like, completely moving to a different state, and losing that thing that he knew he was coming back to and stuff like that, I really feel like he just struggled with that. And so, yeah, but here is where you know that, because they're not listening to each other. And they haven't really listened to each other for most of this episode, to be honest, or in season 2, or anything like that. So you know it's going downhill. And so that ends with her in the kitchen crying, him going back out to the family. It's like, it's an entire mess. But then we come back to modern day. And this is, this is an odd switcheroo, because right before Eddie goes to get Hayden out, he's dazed from the fall, and probably from being jerked back through those tunnels. So he's kind of in this odd, like, dazed state. And so you hear Hayden yelling for mom. We see Eddie, but then it goes to another flashback, and this is Chris waking up Eddie, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, where's your mom? You know, where's she?" And Chris just says in such like odd little way. I don't know how else to say it, but he's like, "She's gone."
Yeah, the way he says it is like so like unfazed and serious, but he's young, obviously. He's unfazed.
He doesn't get it yet.
He doesn't know something's not right. And I'm guessing maybe Shannon went into his room or something before she left, or something like that.
I think she probably put Chris in with Eddie.
Yeah,
probably. And I'm just gonna be honest. You can walk away from that beautiful man and that sweet, adorable little boy. Like,
I know.
I get you have problems, but like, just leaving like that? No. I mean, I personally think it was for the better, but still, like, how? And you see, there's a note on the nightstand because by this point he's like, "What?" And I'm actually gonna pause before you get the note because you see a photo of him carrying Shannon, and I'm just gonna point out, if you have photos on your nightstand, aren't they typically turned towards the bed? That was turned away from the bed, and I don't know if that was an intentional thing or something like that, but it wasn't within easy sight. And so I just find that an odd little tidbit because it's like, yeah, someone didn't really want that to be the first thing they saw when they woke up.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think anyone else has ever thought of that. I think I'm probably reading into it.
Yeah,
But
I've never really thought about that just in general, like, and stuff.
well, you barely see the photo to begin with. It focuses in on the note, but that's just something I noticed.
Oh yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Like, did she move it? I don't know. Like,
I don't think he would have, but it's like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
also
what I
his
mean.
side of the bed. Unless he rolled over into hers. That's also possible. Why do I
And then-
kind of feel like Eddie's a little bit of a bed hog?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
We
You
should
think
ask
he's-
Buck. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say something like that. Like, I think
Buck would totally be the
Buck would
bed
be the bed hog.
Why do I picture? Okay, buddy moment here.
They're gonna need a king size bed.
They're both gonna move, and then they're just gonna wake up, and they're going to be literally tangled around each other because they're just like during the night. But or if let's say Eddie's the stationary one, Buck's like the bed hog or something, he just wakes up and like, and Buck's just like wrapped around him like an octopus.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ah. Okay, well, anyhow, so note, Eddie in the kitchen had said, like, I just need some time.
Yeah.
Give the boy some time. But anyhow, and her note says, I need some time too. And away she's gone for the next, like, 2 years.
Yep.
2-3 years. Again, time.
Yeah, they don't really give a clear picture as to exactly how long a time.
How long his tour was and how long he was back for. I'm guessing that, like, he was maybe before he started at the 118. Shannon had been gone for like maybe 2 to 3 years by that point.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's what I figure.
Yeah, I kind of get that vibe too, especially since, like, with the conversation Eddie has with his parents, like, later, which we'll get to.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's the end of that flashback. And we actually have a little bit of time in the present because Eddie gets Hayden out and Chim is in, gets Hayden, and they're going to send another line down for Eddie. And I love Chim's, like, yeah, we're going to send another line down for you. Try not to get this one.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It's like mood. So they bring Hayden up and, you know, it's all going great. They're preparing to send another line down. And then lightning strikes and the tower explodes.
Yep.
Which tips the truck over onto the ladder truck, I'm just going to say. That ladder
made
truck
a comment about that.
I
ladder
did
truck.
notice. Yeah,
Poor
I did
ladder
notice
truck.
that. Yeah.
I never really paid much attention to it before last night, but I was like, oh, they really mess up with their trucks, don't they?
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe it was somebody else's truck, who knows? But anyhow, so it went down, and it blocks the opening, which also causes a mudslide, filling up the hole. And then this next part of the scene, rips my heart open, and then jumps on it a million times.
Yeah, the
And
iconic
it
Buck
is
scene.
Everyone just sort of coming to themselves because Buck had knocked Bobby out of the way.
Yeah.
And then he looks up, he looks towards the opening, and then he starts screaming at Eddie. Like, Eddie! No, Eddie! And he's digging with his freaking hands where the hole was. And Bobby goes over, and he's, like, pulling him back, and Buck's struggling to get back, and then you just see, like, this moment of, like, him just collapse, and then he's, like, sobbing. And it's like,
You can't look at that scene and not see anything there because I'm sorry, but A straight man would not. I mean, I'm just
The
gonna
way that
say-
was said.
I'm just gonna say, like, no man will do that just for anybody. Like, it's love. I'm sorry, it's love. If you want to deny that, go for it. But it is love. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. Like, you cannot tell me you don't see something there, because you definitely do. I don't know anybody that would do that over somebody.
I
I'm
know
sorry.
some people who only started seeing Buddy at this scene. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you missed a lot, but yes. Because it's like, that is, okay, like putting myself into the shoes of these, because I'm going to be a firefighter one day. Okay, any of my coworker gets trapped down there, I'm going to be panicked, yes, but I'm not going to be quite to that extreme.
Yeah, that's
The
Yeah.
only other person I can see Buck doing that for is Bobby, because Bobby's like father figure. But
Right.
that's the only other person. I can see him freaking out if it's anyone else.
Yeah, I could see him freaking out, but not to that extreme.
I mean,
That's
he did freak out a
completely-
little bit when Hen, was in the helicopter with Owen, but
Oh yeah, but
even then it was.
it wasn't to this level. Like
Yeah,
this
no.
is
Well,
like
he was calmer than TK, to be honest.
Right.
oh
And,
yeah.
and we've seen Hen get trapped down in the earthquake, and we've seen Chim get run through the skull with a rebar. We've seen that, and yes, he's been worried, but he's not flipped out like that.
Right.
And so it's like, Buddy, okay.
Yeah. One word.
Moving
Buddy.
on.
Buddy.
But yeah, that was such a heartbreaking scene. But just just for what that was, and I'm sure Buck had other things running through his mind, like, oh my God, Eddie, but he was probably also thinking about Christopher and how
for
close,
certain.
thinking
yeah.
about, like, oh my God, like, what am I going to tell Christopher? And oh my God, like, I'm his dad's partner. Like, I should be, it's like, I should be down there with him. And so
honestly,
there's probably
it's the
some
same-
survivor's remorse,
It's the same cycle that was running through his head when Eddie got shot. And I think they only emphasized it there. But in the well scene, of course it was happening with that, because he was also standing right there.
Right.
And he had been the one that wanted to go down. But Chim got sent, which, to be honest, nothing would have changed. He still needed to bring Hayden up first.
Right.
But of course he's like, I could have done more.
Yeah.
And we see the cave-in, and it's just it's pretty insane. And we have Buck trying to be like, we need to go drill to get Eddie, and they're like, we don't have another rig. And then like this scene is like Buck going, wait, you all think he's dead?
Yeah.
And for a moment you think that everyone thinks he's dead because
Oh,
of
yeah.
how everyone's acting. And Bobby's
Right.
like, nobody thinks that. I'm like, somebody thinks that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nobody thinks that.
honestly, I
And
feel like
Chim's
they
just like-
do.
Yeah. And Chim's just like, we just don't know how to get him out. And it's like, nobody's giving up on him. Nobody. We're gonna find him. I think everyone's just saying that to reassure themselves, because to be honest, landslide like that, I'm going to be honest, you don't know whether or not they're alive down there. Especially since Eddie already ran out of oxygen.
Right.
Or
And
is about to.
Right, and they don't know, like, where the water is in relation to where Eddie is. Like, he's close. Is he, is there water filling up that area to where he could be drowning?
Or was the entire area that he was in down there filled up?
Yeah.
Like,
There's a
has he
lot of
got no air
factors to it.
pockets?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we see Eddie, was knocked unconscious. Outwardly doesn't seem too hurt other than like some blood around his nose. I'm thinking maybe his goggles dug in or something like that. And he's this is the scene we see at the beginning of the episode where he's trying to radio and he's yelling, I'm still alive down here.
Because he doesn't know what happened up above. Like, he probably doesn't have any idea that there was an explosion and that there was lightning. And so he's just like, all he knows is that the tunnel is collapsed in and he's stuck.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And he knows that he's not likely to get a signal out because he lost signal.
right.
But he's like, in any chance. So next scene is another flashback. And this is 2017.
Yep.
And it is Eddie basically being sat down by Ramon and Helena, his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the scene where I really realize I don't like them.
Yeah, like the first scene was like a little insane. Like his dad wasn't bad, I don't think in the first scene. I think it was more his mom that was really bugging me. But this scene really paints it, and I'm like, I hate them. Like I honestly do. Like
Whenever they show up, this happens. And you know you don't like them in season 2, and here you're like, oh, I really don't like them.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's so much we could go. Do we each want to take a person and do the entire dialogue?
See, yeah.
Sure, why not?
I don't know. I'm just like, we have so much of the dialogue written down that I'm just like, we could totally act it out.
I know. I wrote it with the intentions of not, but I'm totally cool with reading it off because I feel like it paints a picture that we could go into.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're in over your head, Edmundo.
I'm doing the best I can.
Well, that's what we're saying. You're killing yourself, working around the clock, 3 different jobs, and you don't have time for what matters most, Christopher. And that's why we think he should live with us permanently.
These jobs are just temporary. It won't be like this forever. You know, I've applied to different fire departments, and I've been accepted to LA and Chicago.
Yes, where you'll be working 24-hour shifts, leaving Christopher with God knows who. How is that any better for him?
Christopher needs consistency. He already got cheated out of that when his own mother up and left us.
Hey. She didn't leave him. She left me to take care of her dying mother. So how about we cut her a little slack?
She gave up on you and then she left her son. I will always blame her for that.
I mean, same. Side note, but same.
True.
Back in. But now you want me to leave him too? How do you think that's good for him?
Eddie, he barely knows you. You haven't been around most of his life.
I don't remember you being around that much when I was his age.
I was working.
So was I. And maybe you regret those life choices now, but you don't get to make up for lost time with your children by stealing mine. And I was like,
clap,
yup.
Go, Eddie.
And that's all we have written down. We're not going to do the entire scene. But well done, ladies. Take a bow. Now, I think he really hit it on the nose there, because it must have felt like they're trying to steal him, and by the fact that they got so mad about it, I mean, yeah, I get mad about it too, but still, it was like a little defensive. And so, oh geez, like, I get the points they made, but at the same time, it's like, they're cutting Eddie no slack.
Yeah, this is kind of petty, but I kind of want them to come back. Just for Eddie to be like, well, if I die, you're not getting custody. Like, sorry, not sorry. Like,
I so want them to find out.
He would never say it like that, but I just so want it to happen because, like, oh my god.
Do you know what I want to have happen?
What?
Oh my gosh, I want them to like insist on video calling in the 5th season and talking about him almost dying again, and talking about how Chris would go to them and he'd just be like, oh yeah, well, you're not getting custody.
Yeah.
I want it.
Was it when Shannon died after like her funeral when they said that like Christopher
well, they're trying to get Eddie to come back.
Yeah, no, when they were trying to get him to come back, it wasn't that when, like, Ramon said something about, like, oh, like, Christopher hasn't put roots down or whatever in LA, like, because Eddie was saying how they had, like, family there, like, meaning, like, the 118, basically, but then,
like Eddie, we're sitting right here.
I love them.
It's a complete mood.
Yeah, like, that's what that, like, kind of made my mind go back to. It's just, like, yeah. And, like, also, like, I kind of want to see more of his sisters, because, like, I think they've been in episodes, but they've always been in the background. I think they're kind of just there.
They were in the last episode.
Yeah, like in
season 2. I don't think they've been in anything else.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I want to see, like, them, just because we don't really know, like, what the relationship that they have is. Like, we don't know if it's, like, similar. I don't think it's similar to the parents, but we don't know that. Right. And I kind of want to...
All we know is that he has a niece.
Yeah, I kind of want to see, like, the sisters in a future episode, just because I feel like it'd be really good to know, like, what that relationship is like. Like, are they close? Are they not? Like, I kind of want to know.
I've seen this in fan fiction, and this is what I want to have happen. I want them to show up in LA. I kind of picture them as being close-ish, but And then they decide they want Buck and Eddie together. And so they decide to start matchmaking. I've seen this in fanfics and I want it.
Honestly, I could see that happening. Like, if they wanted to, like, really get that rolling, like, I could see it happening. That's, like, one of the ways I could see it. I mean, there's multiple ways, but...
That's, like, one of the most random, abstract ways, but I'm like, yes, I want it.
Like, just imagine Maddie and then, like, his other sisters, like, trying to, like, form some alliance to get them together. I could see that happening, too.
I want a matchmaker group chat.
Yeah.
I need a matchmaker group chat.
Okay, Hen, Athena.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Jim and Bobby would be put in there and then they'd leave because I don't want to be a part of this.
Oh, yes. And then Hen would blackmail Jim into coming back.
Yeah.
Facts.
But yes, want it. Anyhow, that's way off track. But
so
summary, we hate the parents. Now let's move on to the second half of that scene, which is when Eddie storms out. Good for him. I would have too. And you can tell like he's mad, he's frustrated. Probably, honestly, he probably feels pretty shitty about himself.
Oh yeah,
because let me tell you, they do not mince words. And I'm just gonna be honest. Up until at least the point where he gets to LA, he doesn't have a lot of positive reinforcement for himself.
No, not at all.
Such fanfic ideas. Anyway, oh boy. And Chris is like, he's like, I've never heard them yell before. And then he's like, wow, it's like we're talking about two different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Mood. Yeah, like. I love how, like, he storms out to the first show, and, like, he thinks he's alone, and then Chris is just, like, sitting there, and he's just like, oh okay.
But I like how he kind of gets over himself a bit to, like, go check on Chris and be like, hey, you okay? Like, he's a good dad. He just needed to get used to being a dad.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel it though, because I know people who, like, I can tell you so much that they said, but everyone else is like, they would say anything bad? No. And it's like, no, trust me. You have not heard.
Yeah, that's a mood.
That's a mood. And then Eddie asked Chris if he missed him when he was gone. And Chris is like, I miss you all the time. And I'm just like,
my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, that was so sweet. And Eddie's just, I think Eddie was just trying to figure out, is he really worth, like, is it better for him to be left with them? Like, what do I do? And I think him saying that was like, he was like, I can't leave him again. I don't want to leave him again, and he doesn't want me to. And he was like, I loved how he did this. He's like, I think, I've been thinking about taking another trip. And I was wondering if maybe you'd like to come with me? And Chris is like, together? And he's like, together.
Yeah.
I'm never going to leave you again.
Yes.
And by that point, I'm like flat on the bed going,
Same. Like, just that whole part, especially him being like, I'm never gonna leave again, but I'm gonna leave, like, the unsaid of, like, I'm gonna leave, like, my parents, though, like, goodbye.
Right.
Yeah. You could I think that was kind of the point where he was like, I have a direction for my life because I'm determined to keep my son and I need to get out of here. And I think that was the point where I feel like that was especially the point, even though it was becoming this before, I think that was especially the point where his family became less of a safe place and more of like a war zone.
Oh yeah, like toxic.
Like, yeah.
Very toxic.
So toxic. Like, it wasn't home that much anymore. It's like, I need to go. Just that scene. Okay. Eddie, present time, underwater. Yep. And, you know, by that point, it's like, he's run out of oxygen. There's, like, there's no real breathing pocket in the cave. He's just completely underwater. And it looks so ghostly because the light makes it look green.
Yeah, that greenish yellow glow stick. Ugh. But this was such a good moment, but such a like tearful moment.
This is when I start crying, like in the episode. Like, there are a few instances where I started tearing up, but this is when I full on start sobbing because like this is when the montage starts, and I'm like,
the song was amazing.
The song, all the flashbacks, especially Buck.
And I'm like, did you all notice that like almost, I think I counted them and there's like 10 of them have Buck in them.
Of course.
Oh yeah, and a bunch have Buck like towards the center of things and feature around Buck and Eddie and Chris. Buck, Eddie, and Chris. And it's like, yes, I know there were other people in there, but can we just look and be like, okay, important.
Yes.
Important.
Very.
And like, it's the fact people are like, well, Shannon was in there too. Well, yeah, mother of child, ex-wife, dead wife. So brutal. But yeah, Christian was in there.
And I love how Eddie also had the flashback to when they were having the conversation inside the house about the maps and like the tunnel system, and the guy was saying something about not sure, like their maps predate, and then you can hear Buck saying, so there might be unknown tunnels down there, and like so Eddie's like remembering that as he's like finding his way.
It's very interesting because during the song, it's like sort of like he almost just gave up because he didn't know what to do. And so you're seeing this, and he just has his eyes closed, doesn't look like he's breathing, and then he just sort of jolts because he's like between remembering that and then like him having this like montage of Christopher needs you. I'll always fight to come back to my family.
Yeah,
like, it's so inspiring.
Yeah, that's like legit. Like when he starts coming up too, like he like I'm like okay, like obviously we didn't think he was gonna die, like but still like him underwater and like him like basically finding his way out and saving himself. I'm like, of course he did. Of course he saved himself.
He can save himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking that, and I was just like, that's Bishop doesn't need saving because he can save himself. That was me last night rewatching it.
Every
of course
time.
he saves himself because he couldn't wait for them to do it. And so he comes up like in a little
like a drainage pond.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was, but yeah, a sort of pond. And I'm amazed he can even stay afloat because you can tell how exhausted he is.
Yeah, like he's gasping for air, like and stuff. Understandably so.
You can tell he's running on adrenaline.
Like, yeah, especially like when they're coming up with the plan, and then he walks up.
Yeah,
barely walks up.
Coming out with the thermal sensors, and he's like, He's like, that might be a little challenging because I'm pretty cold.
Yes. And okay, you hear Bobby going like, you see Bobby going like, Eddie? Like their faces, and you see Hen in the background, just her face. But what I never realized was that picking out one of the voices that goes, Eddie! Right afterwards was Buck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I wish they would have shown it.
Oh, yeah.
But you see him in the crowd right before then. And can we just say that his
like a
face
little
is like,
puppy.
I know, he looks like someone just stole his puppy. Or he like kicked him or something, like, I don't know, but it's like, baby. But then, oh my goodness, and poor Eddie's just struggling, but he just collapses. But then he's like, oh good, because I got a date Friday, I can't miss it.
Yeah, I love that line. It's for Christopher, yeah.
Yeah, that was so sweet, and like this whole scene, oh, my heart.
But I just love that despite the fact that he's most certainly slightly hypothermic, and he's joking that the heat sensors won't be able to pick him up because he's so cold. Like, of course he is. Of course. But good job. Oh my gosh, just relish in that moment. Love it.
And then like they kind of rescue him, they get him off, and then the next scene is them at school on Friday.
Yeah.
Really inappropriate for fourth grade word story.
Right.
Oh man. And so Chris is reciting or reading something about what makes a silver star like so special. And he's just saying it, he's so proud. He's like, he's
a proud dad.
Right.
And he's just like, that's my boy.
And then one of the kids asks, do you ever wear it? I'm like, so Buck is what, a 9-year-old? That was so many people made that comparison when this first aired. They're like,
yeah.
And then he's like, I'm not really a jewelry person. And then he pulls out, he's like, but except for this. And then he pulls out the St. Christopher medal.
And Anna goes, so that's your good luck charm? He's like, no, he is.
And I sob. I sob, guys.
Yes. He's his good luck charm. And that's the end of Eddie Begins.
Yeah, like, oh, so good every time. Every time it's even better. How could an episode get better when it's the same thing every time? It just gets better, okay?
Okay, so yeah, that that's me talking myself hoarse.
Yeah.
But that's that one of the best freaking episodes of
Yeah.
911 was the best
So well
freaking
written.
episodes ever. Yes, it was so well written. Oh my gosh.
And Ryan did amazing. The whole cast did amazing. So such a good episode.
Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna talk about the gay colored elephant in the room.
The
Fact.
pride flag color.
Yes, exactly. About that. Anyhow, I had to. But yeah, that. I know, and just the dad moments and like,
yeah.
Seeing Eddie as a dad just melts me.
Because we don't get to see it a ton.
No,
Yeah.
I wish they showed it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we see little glimpses, but I like that it was so prevalent in this episode. Yeah.
Okay, so it is the 18th of September, and we're recording this prior to this season 5 premiere. And there's been a lot of previews that have been coming out of 911, and there's one very quick clip of Eddie collapsing. So when we're talking Eddie Begins, let's talk about this, because that kind of like freaked me out.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I saw it and I was like, excuse me. And then also there's another, they've been dropping promos like nobody's business, like which understandably so, but I'm like kind of like, when I notice when a show like releases a ton of promos, I'm like, either this is gonna be something really big or they're just trying to throw us off. But I definitely think this is going to be something, because obviously we know in one of the episodes that Eddie's going to have like a health scare, quote unquote.
And he was dressed in a suit when it happened too.
Was he? I thought he was just in civilian clothes.
No, he was in a suit. And there's been so many theories that I've heard that I'm like, Somebody said, I don't remember the full-on theory, but somebody said like maybe he had like something to do with a nerve in his shoulder and then he collapses. And I've also heard like buddy theories that are so far off. But somebody's like, oh, maybe they're like him and Buck are suit shopping. And I'm like, okay, that'd be really cute, but I don't think that's what's happening there.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. If only. The only time I want to see them suit shopping is suit shopping for their wedding.
For their wedding together, not
exactly
separate.
Their wedding together. Oh God, suit shop. If they are suit shopping, then no. Okay. Anyway, because that would mean that they're no, absolutely not. So,
yeah. I also
You're hearing my denial of heterosexual relationships in the show.
I also want to bring this to the episode description for season 3. I'm just going to read the part off that relates to this. But this is like for the 3rd episode in. And it says, part of it says, like, meanwhile, Eddie has to make a difficult choice about his future. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, I don't think it's anything, like, too bad, but I'm also like, what the heck? Like, I do not want Eddie to become a Buck. Like, I know he's not gonna, like, play Buck moves, but I don't want him to become a Buck in the sense that he's just gonna start getting hurt over and over and over again.
See, I'm just happy they're not doing more Buck.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
To be honest. But I don't want it to be we injured Buck as much as we can. Now let's injure Eddie as much as we can. Okay, it's been enough time. Let's injure Buck as much as we can. Like,
so
there are other characters in the show.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a shift because, Hen is in medical school. So she's probably going to be working a lot less. And so with Albert, now a firefighter, and them having a probie possibly, I don't know. Maybe he has to make a decision kind of like TK did, and maybe Eddie's going to go to paramedic and be more of a paramedic and me in a slightly less dangerous position.
Okay, so I've seen people speculating that Buck's going to do that. I'm like, please stop projecting from TK onto Buck.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just going to be honest.
I wouldn't be, if it was Eddie, okay, I could see Eddie doing that, like, not yet, but eventually, if, like, for whatever reason, like, with the med school, like, Hen's med school thing, I feel like if Aisha ever wanted to, like, not be on the show anymore, like, I feel like they could...
right off, honestly.
Yeah, they
Like,
could
it's hard,
easily.
with the doctor thing.
Yeah, like they could easily be like, okay, well now she's a doctor, like, and like somebody else could like fill in her place, which I feel like Eddie would be the most capable
Right, because
to.
he's already a combat medic, so he's
I'm
already
just gonna
got the
say,
skills.
Buck knows almost nothing about medicine.
No.
And I can't remember exactly how I know that, but I know from several different episodes, he's known almost nothing about helping. Like, I know he's helped deliver some babies in, like, the first episode, and I'm guessing he has some EMT training, but he doesn't know some of the most basic stuff. And I'm saying this is someone who's taking a CPR class, and I know one things that he don't know. So it's like, you're just projecting to anyone who wants him to become a paramedic like TK. No, you're the one who complains about us copying, okay?
Yeah, I don't want to hear the word tuck ever.
Vomit, sorry. I don't.
Yeah. I like bloody much better than talk.
Talk just sounds weird. And like, I know most people are using that as like an actual like friendship, but why do we have to give friendships names? I mean, I follow a few shows where friendships have names and I'm cool with that, but in this sense, I'm not cool with it.
Do Hen and Chim have a friendship name? No.
No.
Not that I've ever heard. Do Hen and Aisha have a friendship name? No. Do, like, Hen and Athena. Sorry, I said Aisha.
I was so confused for a second.
She spoke for herself. Do Hen and Athena have friendship names? No.
No.
So, therefore, there don't need to be friendship name here, okay? Especially now when a lot of people actually do ship, like, Tuck.
I don't.
No.
That's worse than shipping Buck and Taylor. I said it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yes. No, you are completely correct. I never thought I'd say I would take Buck and Taylor over a couple. But yes, I would take that.
I would take TK or Carlos and a woman over Buck and Taylor.
No, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I definitely would take any like relationship that makes sense for the storylines over Buck and Taylor is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I would just take, if we want to go unrealistic, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yes.
Yeah. Also, like,
but yes, I'm worried about Eddie, but I don't think Ryan's leaving the series. So
no,
he could have killed him off by now.
Yeah,
and honestly,
they would have already did it if they really wanted him gone.
Yeah.
Which why would you want that? Like I love Ryan. Like I love Eddie.
Freaking hot.
Ryan,
so
love Eddie, and we've moved past any of the instance that people wanted him gone for. So there's no reason for him to go. So I'm like, no, he's not going.
Yeah.
But I do have like concerns because we've talked about this before. Of course we talked about this before. We are text messages and our Zoom calls.
Yeah.
But
Katie comes out of work and there's like 20 messages.
Oh yeah, last night
Sorry.
I'm like
yep.
I'm like standing there waiting to leave work, and I'm like, I have 18 messages. Oh, of course it's you guys.
Sorry, we got talking.
I was
like, where's Katie? Why isn't she chiming in? Oh, she's probably at work. Oh yeah, she's gonna have an interesting read when she gets off.
That's me with you guys all the time, because I've been busy lately, and so I haven't gotten a chance to chime in quite as much lately when you all talk, and so I get all these messages and I'm like, who died?
That's always my mood. Stuff.
I was like, what were we talking about? Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've debated on what the health scare could be. Personally, I think it's more than likely to be related to the gunshot injury. However, if they pull a season 2 to season 3 transition, like what they did with Buck, I'm going to be mad. Because honestly, so if they make it like, so he had embolism.
Mm-hmm.
So if they make it something related like that, it's like, the thing is, I'm glad that we're getting more injured Eddie, because I was sick of it being only Buck, because Buck gets so much of the attention.
Right.
However, I do not want Eddie to be the copy paste.
Right.
Give him his own like brand of things. And so part of me hopes that it isn't that, yet how could it not be, considering the fact that he just got shot like, I don't know, at least a few months ago. Like, I know. Oh my gosh, I just thought of something. What if he's allergic to one of the animals?
Oh.
Jeez.
No, that would have happened with him in uniform, but still, I just thought that'd be very funny if he was having an allergic reaction to like
I I needed an Eddie and a llama, or an Eddie and alpaca, or Eddie and an animal. It was or a camel's there too. And I still want some like Buck being like, "Did you know that such and such about such and such animal?"
He's gonna do that. You guys know it. Like,
I'm gonna be so disappointed if he doesn't. Like, what the heck?
we're gonna be like, Reyes, you missed this opportunity because we all know he will do it, and somebody will write a fan fiction on it if it doesn't happen.
And
I
then
can
already
guarantee
do
it.
Of course they are.
and of course they're gonna ask him, "How do you know that?" He's like, "Well, I learned it when I was helping Chris with his science homework."
Okay, if he doesn't
Yeah.
say that, I mean, if he doesn't say that, then I don't want
That
it.
is totally a missed opportunity.
Totally.
It is like,
I mean, I imagine Eddie might be able to help Chris with science. Oh my gosh, I think he might be able to help Chris with science because he totally. I was rewatching Fools, season 3, episode 12, and he knew a lot about like G-force spin and stuff like that. But can you imagine if he just pretended that he didn't know so he could have backup? Chris with that homework.
that'd be so funny. Like, yes.
But yeah, I'm
excited for the new season.
same.
Me too. Like,
Nervous,
It
but
airs in
excited.
2 days.
yeah, like I
I'm watching in
can't.
3.
Yeah, like I like was thinking about the other day. I'm like, oh crap, the 20th is almost here. Like, it literally airs in a few days. Like, I'm like, how?
And I am just so happy that it's coming up.
Yeah.
You can't tell. Yeah, we're super excited for season 5. Make all our dreams come true, writers, please.
Buddy, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, I know. I have so many hunches for what's coming up. Anyone got anything else to chime in?
I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure I will in about an hour when we're done.
Right. So
But at the moment, no.
yes. Okay. So by the time this goes out, the episode will be out. So I'm so y'all are getting the old news here, but this is new news for us. So deal with it. And so yeah, I'm glad it's finally here. Glad it didn't get put off. And thank you for coming to particularly mine, but everyone's TED Talk on Eddie Begins. Thank you for bearing with the rants and the very in-depth acting and all of that. Y'all are good sports. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to check out the podcast on Anchor. We are also on Spotify, Apple, and basically everywhere you get your podcasts. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. Be sure to follow the podcast on our socials at 901LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also connect with us on our Discord server. The link will be in the description of this podcast and also in the Instagram bio for the podcast.
And you guys can follow me, Katie, at ForLoveTarlos on Instagram and at ForLoveTarlos on Twitter.
You can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
All right.
Bye.